Hello, my name is Beck. Welcome to a reading vlog, and I'm going to be hopefully reading The Words of Radiance during this vlog because I finished The Way of Kings in like 6 days, and so I want to see how fast I can finish this one because I have Oathbringer to read as well before Rhythm of War comes out in November, and I'm hoping that I can get to all of them in time. And then if I end up getting through parts 1 and 2 of The Words of Radiance, I'm hopefully going to read some books by Rin because they're on my August TBR, and I believe that's live by now, so I can talk about it without it being a spoiler for my future reading plans. The books that I'm talking about are The Heartforger and The Shadow Glass by Rin, and these are sequels to The Bone Witch, and because I read The Bone Witch so long ago, I think I'm gonna have to go and read like the Wikipedia page or read a synopsis or some spoilers or something about the first book because I really don't remember enough about the minor characters to actually continue on, so I think that's going to be a problem unless I go back and revisit it, so I don't want to reread the first book because that's going to take time. So this is my plans for the weekly vlog. Let's see how I go with them. Mostly my goal is just to finish The Words of Radiance, let's be real. Hello, it is now Wednesday. I didn't film anything yesterday because I just didn't feel like being in front of a camera, but I actually did some reading, so I am 175 pages into this first installment of Words of Radiance, so it's over 600 pages long, this first one, so I have a lot ahead of me still because this is only part 1, so I'm making some headway, but I want to dedicate all of today to reading because yesterday I kind of got sucked into Disney Plus and I don't want that to happen today with Disney Plus or Netflix, so reading is the way I'm going to try and swing it today. I don't really have any other plans except for job hunting at some point, which will either take me 10 minutes or 2 hours depending on whether I find anything or not, and then exercising later this afternoon and also having lunch at some point today. So that is really all I have going on because lockdown. I probably should update on some actual thoughts about the book though. There is a character in here that wasn't in the first book, and when she was introduced for the first time, I was absolutely devouring her chapters because all of it is kind of world building and newer perspective on what has already happened and what you already understand about the world. Can't really say anything more because I don't want to spoil anything obviously, and the first time, like I said, I read her chapters, I devoured them, but this time I'm thinking I might just skim read through them because it does a lot of explaining about the world, and obviously I already know that because I've already read these books, so I'm just gonna skim read because I found that I was rereading the same paragraph like 3 or 4 times because I kept getting distracted when I was reading one of her chapters. So yeah, I think that is going to be like the downside of this book, and if the downside is something that I really loved on my first read through, that's not really much of a downside, to be honest. It's just something that I already understand. So apart from that, I am loving where the characters are so far, and I'm loving the interactions we have so far, and I'm loving the way that the magic system that was talked about in the first book is now coming more to a head in the second, and the way that it's explored in different factions is really interesting. Obviously, because I know how it goes down towards the end, I'm being very careful here if you couldn't tell. I know how it goes down, so I'm really pumped to see the lead up to that because there's a lot of stuff in here that I've forgotten. Like when I read through The Way of Kings, I'd forgotten a lot of the detail, and I have read these like 4 years ago, so that's kind of understandable, but I only remember like a major action scene and then a scene where they talk about boots, which if you're a Brandon Sanderson Stormlight fan, you'll completely understand what I'm talking about. So I'm really excited to get to that point, but I don't know if it happens in this book or if it happens in the second part of this book. I guess I'll find out. On my reread now, I'm realizing some stuff about Adolin, and I just had to stop because there was a perfect paragraph that described him. Can't really give the context because of spoilers, but basically Adolin represents the privilege of the light eyes in this world, and in this world light eyes and dark eyes are the hierarchy, and light eyes have power, dark eyes don't. They're more aligned with workers and slaves, and there is a dark eyes hierarchy as well, so some have a Dan and they're a higher dark eyes, but they're still below any light eyes. So Adolin is a high prince, so he is a light eyes. He is the son of the king's brother, the king who got assassinated at the beginning of the first book, and that's kind of how the story took off with the war and everything. And I can't describe who is describing Adolin because of spoilers, but the way that Adolin is depicted, he's depicted as a good character. He will stick up for people, he is honourable, but the way that he describes the dark eyes is from, like Brandon Sanderson has said in this paragraph, he's from a place of privilege. And the first time I read this through, I actually really liked Adolin, but the second time I'm reading it through, while I like him, I'm also aware of this massive flaw of his upbringing, because he's basically the perfect character. He's got skill, he's got looks. The one thing he doesn't have is perspective, and I think that's what he starts to get throughout the books, but it kind of happens slowly. And the thing is, you don't have to be exposed to privilege and rank and hierarchy by being directly confronted by it. It's a system that you should be aware of because you're in it, and so you see the benefits of you using it. And so far Adolin seems to have been blinded by the fact that he just gets what he wants, and it seems to just be the way his life is. And so I think that's why I'm really frustrated, because later on, I can't say now because of spoilers, but there is a nickname that Adolin coins later on, and it's supposed to be kind of like companionable, but also it has this edge of like a microaggression because it touches on one of our main characters and the fact that they're not a light eyes. And while it's supposed to be affectionate, I'm like, oh, I have a bit of a problem with that because it basically sums up everything that Adolin doesn't like. It's effectively like classism and racism, and I'm liking that he is slowly, well, he hasn't really so far, but I think he does a little bit later. He's slowly recognizing things that he is privileged about and stepping up to help people when he needs to. But at the moment, he's just a little bit of a brat throwing a tantrum in every situation because somebody in the first book got the better of him and he doesn't like that. And so, like a child, he's throwing a bit of a tantrum and he doesn't really know how to reconcile the fact that he's now been this privileged person but hasn't realized his privilege and then been called on it. And I think that's what he doesn't like, but he hasn't recognized it in that many words. So it's good to see him kind of unravel that, but he doesn't realize it yet. So anyway, long-winded rant over. I'm gonna go back to listening to my rain track and reading now. So I changed the angle of the camera slightly just for a bit of variation, but it is now 5 o'clock and I am almost 500 pages into part 1 of The Words of Radiance. I'm on page 475, so I think it'll be ambitious of me to say I want to finish this one today, but I'll definitely be finished it by at least tomorrow morning. So I'm gonna work on it more tonight. I did a bit of video editing earlier, which is why I'm a little bit behind. And then I might watch some booktube because I really like watching booktube and I haven't been able to watch any really today. Hello, it is now Thursday. I'm sitting down to eat a bagel for lunch and I've just exercised, had a shower, hair's wet, and I've got a few things to do today. I have 100 pages left of part 1 of The Words of Radiance to read, so that is on the cards to do today. I also just filmed, edited and exported a video this morning because at the last minute I decided to participate in a readathon that's happening in August on August 8th, so that's when the To Be Read video is going up. So now I have to Photoshop the thumbnail for that. So I just kind of outline me in the thumbnail and then I blur the background and then put the text over the top. So it's not something that's going to take ages, but it is something that I want to do today. And then as well as that, I'm gonna have a phone call with a friend, and I'm also really annoyed because I'm getting a cold sore on my top lip, and usually they come when I am stressed and run down, and I am both of those things because pandemic. So I'm eating lunch now so that I can take some tablets to get rid of it. Hopefully you don't see it too much in the next few clips, but you probably will. So fair warning. It's 11:45 now and I am planning on being productive this afternoon. Not that I haven't been productive this morning, but I have a few things to do today, which is good. I've already job hunted, and because of pandemic, again, there is not a lot there that I can really apply for. So it's just doing my own personal creative projects in the meantime. And then I know I've said and then, but last thing, I promise, I'm going to start part 2 of The Words of Radiance today after I've done all the other stuff that I want to get done. So that is the plan. Maybe I'll update later. Honestly, I have no idea. Let's see how it goes. Hello, I figured I owed you an update. I am now on Saturday. It's almost 2 o'clock and I didn't film because my cold sore is starting to look gross and I didn't want to be in front of a camera, but I've been reading, so I need to update. So I am on part 2 of Words of Radiance now and I finished part 1, and that means I read like 900 pages or so in only a couple of days. So it's really good to see my mojo coming back because I've dropped the ball on reading lately. At least it feels like I have. I've still read a consistent amount of books so far this year, but I wanted to get to 100 and I think I'm just behind the 8 ball on that. So I don't think I'll get to that number this year, but you know, it doesn't hurt to keep the goal there and see how far the gap is and see how much I'm closing it. So this, when I finish it, will be 50 books read this year. So I'm really enjoying it. Obviously I expected to enjoy it. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I gave part 1 5 stars, and just to be consistent with what I said before, the boots thing did happen in part 1, and now there are a whole bunch of cool cataclysmic scenes in part 2. I remember this book being an action focused book, but there are obviously obviously quieter character moments in between each piece of action, like there should be. Obviously there's a natural build-up, but The Way of Kings, the way it did it, it wasn't not actiony at all, but it more set things up for other things to happen later. And so The Words of Radiance is a very action-packed book in comparison, and then in Oathbringer we go back to a little bit quieter again, even though there is a little bit of action interspersed in that book. It's kind of like chill, action, chill is the way that Sanderson's Stormlight books are going so far, which is why I'm extra excited for Rhythm of War in November, because I think that has a lot of ground set in Oathbringer to spring off from, and I'm super excited about it. I don't know who isn't excited about it, to be honest, but I also uploaded my Way of Kings spoiler-free review today, so if you haven't actually read Stormlight, go and check that video out because I break it down so it doesn't seem as intimidating. I think today we were going to actually play some scary video games, but I really want to finish this, so I'll see how we go. I'm not sure what our afternoon is going to look like. We've already exercised and stuff, my hair's wet because we showered, and now I have the afternoon to myself, so I don't know if Dave's going to work in the other room and I'm just going to sneakily read in here, or what's going to happen. I love having a free afternoon. I'm very, very close to the end. I've only got this much left, so I'm on page 393 and this is just over 500 pages long, so I'm making good headway, and I know that the end of this book is probably one of my favorite moments in the series so far, so I've kind of been savoring it so that I can read it all through at once so that I don't have to kind of pause the action. That said though, I know this vlog was mostly dedicated to finishing Words of Radiance, but I actually haven't started The Heartforger yet, and that was one of my TBR jar picks, so I need to actually get on to reading that, and I think I'll go and read a spoiler synopsis of The Bone Witch first. I did a spoiler-free review on my blog ages ago, so I might read that so I know what the synopsis is, and then I'll go and seek out some spoilers afterwards. So that's my plan going forward, reading the rest of this, looking up the Bone Witch spoilers, and then hopefully starting the Heartforger, but I don't know if I'll start it this weekend because it's already a decent way into Saturday. So let's just wait and find out. As you just saw, I just finished Words of Radiance, and I mean, I was gonna say I forgot how much I love this book, but it's just been reinforced with how much I love this book and these characters. I really want to talk about it, but if I do, it'll be major spoilers. So I'm not going to, but I just want to say that Brandon Sanderson really knows how to end his books. So while Oathbringer has not been my favorite of the series so far, I'm looking forward to reading it because obviously I get to see the characters I like again. So obviously this is a 5 out of 5 star book, and I'm really glad that I've read it because, like I said before, it is boosting my reading motivation, and I read this in a couple of days. So that's like 1,000 pages or more. And because I want to participate in Tome Topple, that is a good sign because all of the books in Tome Topple have to be over 500 pages long to count for the readathon. So I'm setting myself up well. This is building a good momentum to get into that readathon. So now that I've finished this, I am going to maybe play a horror video game with Dave, but it is still light outside. So because it's still light outside, I think I'm going to Google The Bone Witch now. I don't know if I'm going to start book 2 yet, but I do want to. It is on my to be read pile, and I have got about 18 books left on there. I did mention in a previous vlog that I'd started The Princess Bride. I think that was in my reading rush vlog, and I want to say that I'm going to continue it, but at this stage it's really not vibing with me. I love the movie. I'm a die-hard fan of the Princess Bride movie, but the book is just in a different style to how I expected it to be, and it's gone into the writer William Goldman talking about his links to the Princess Bride story and also his writing of it, and then I eventually assume it will go into the story itself. So I don't mind the writing style, but I just don't care about the story. I was gonna give it 50 pages, but I really can't be bothered reading it at the moment, so I think I'm just gonna DNF it for the moment, but not DNF it permanently with a resolution to unhaul it. I think I'm just gonna put it down for now. So I finished The Words of Radiance, 5 out of 5 stars to part 1 and 2, and like I said about The Way of Kings, I thought there was going to be something at the end of part 1 that was kind of dull and kind of boring, but that book ended on a cliffhanger to hook you into reading the second part. There was, in similar fashion in The Words of Radiance, like a cliffhanger in part 1 in order to get you invested into part 2, but the part 1 cliffhanger was more inevitability and promise of things to come rather than a high action sequence that ended on a cliffhanger. cliffhanger of the promise of more action later. So that's the way that this ended, the promise of more action later, as well as inevitability and a few awesome plot twists. That's why this is my favourite of the series so far. I anticipate that Oathbringer is going to be more setting up, because that's how I viewed it the first time I read it. And each of these books that I've reread now have made me feel different things to when I've read it the first time. I think I'm just rambling now, but I'm glad that I know all of the world building and stuff in these, and I know kind of the major plot twists in here, so I'm not taking up brain capacity in wondering what's going to happen next, because I already know. I'm actually going and absorbing more of the plot and more of the nuances in here than I did before, and I'm seeing a lot more depth, and I'm actually understanding a lot more of the magic system and the religion and the world building and the way all of the places, as well as Alethkar and Roshar, the place we're in, come together and interlink. I just love this world so much. Okay, I need to stop talking about it. I need to go and read some more books, because otherwise this is gonna just turn into a Words of Radiance vlog, and I'm not really disappointed in that, but I think I should have some variation. Hello, now it is Sunday, and it's Sunday morning actually. I'm not updating randomly late in the afternoon like I have in the past couple of vlog clips, but it's almost 10. We're probably gonna go for a walk. We have been playing The Evil Within 2, so I don't think I'm gonna get much reading today, but I did read a couple of pages last night of The Heartforger, and I just want to reiterate my favourite line from the first book, and it's the opening sentence, because I haven't really talked about The Bone Witch very much, and it was a really slow burning book until the last section of it, and that was what hooked me into wanting to read the rest of the series. So I tried to look up spoilers, and I had a bit of a hard time finding specific ones about characters in the first book, and I didn't want to dig too deep in case I accidentally unearthed spoilers for the whole series. So I hopefully will try and remember stuff as I read through the second book, but I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm liking what I've read so far. I do enjoy this, and I like the magic system and the necromancy in here, but I'm a bit apprehensive because I hope I just remember stuff when I need to. So let me just read the first opening line to the first book, and it says, "Let me be clear, I never intended to raise my brother from his grave, though he may claim otherwise." How is that for a hook? It's now 4, and I think I'm gonna end the vlog here only because we've been playing The Evil Within 2 instead of me reading. So I haven't really made a ton of progress, but the progress I have made I haven't really been enjoying. So obviously for this vlog I read Words of Radiance parts 1 and 2 and loved it, 5 out of 5 stars both parts. But at the moment I'm talking about The Heartforger, and I am 40 pages into this now, and I just don't remember enough of the characters to care about them. It also makes it confusing that 3 of the side characters all have names that start with K, and that is very confusing when you haven't picked up the series in a couple of years. So I think what I'm gonna have to do, because like I said I struggled to find spoilers, is just to reread the ending of the first book, and I don't actually have that on me. It's at home, it's not at Dave's house, so I think I'm gonna park this until I can actually do a little bit of more research on what actually happened in the first book, because I cared enough to continue obviously, but at the moment I'm not remembering why I cared enough, because of what I'm reading I am interested in reading about Tia, but because of the timeline thing it jumps back and forth in time. That's actually really throwing me off, because in the past we're reading from Tia's perspective, but in the future we're reading from someone else's perspective about what Tia is doing, and it's just seeming like it's unnecessarily complicated. So it's a good book. I want to enjoy it, but I don't care about the side characters. I'm interested in Tia, and I'm also confused. So I just need to park this. But hopefully I end up liking it when I pick it back up again soon. But I think I'm just in a Way of Kings mood because I've read the first 2 books back to back, so I might just start Oathbringer instead. But I do have my tome topple to be read pile video coming very shortly, and Oathbringer may or may not be in that video. So can I hold off until the 8th of August, or will I probably start it sooner? But that is it for this vlog. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll chat to you down in the comments, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.